Welcome to the Metropolitan Mobility Podcast. My name is Geert Koppenburg, and this podcast is always around the question, how can we keep metropolitan areas accessible? I'm really happy to have Maarten Sierhuis on the show. I will explain later who he is, but we had a talk in San Francisco in 2018. I checked it actually, and you were working for Nissan then on all the things you were doing on autonomous actually at that moment, I thought. Now we're in 2026. Really nice to see you again. But what I thought really nice, I listened to it and I thought it was really funny because I asked you the question, if you would be mayor of Rotterdam and you would do the whole of the mobility for the next 25 years. Yeah. And it's actually fact driven, so we can check it, you can check it. And there were 4 things you said, which were really interesting, saying, okay, if I would do Rotterdam again and would be responsible, you said 4 really interesting things, and maybe 8 years later now you will say, I don't know what I said, but I was wrong, it doesn't matter. You said, I would get rid of the trams, I would make an autonomous lane or platform that would have control on it. And you said something like, yeah, biking and electric bike, no, that's not really happening towards urban mobility. Those 3 things, can you still remember? You haven't.
No, I have no idea. Yeah, okay.
If you look back, what has been the biggest change on autonomous with all the experiments you're doing at Nissan and in that market?
So Nissan has continued on its road to develop autonomous technology. Nissan has or is trying to figure out what is happening or going to happen in the next, well, we're 26, so the next 4 years by 2030. And it's still, Nissan is trying to create a strategy to be ready to go into the different areas where the world is going. And I think it's still, clearly we have developed technology that's further down the road.
Yes.
Pun intended.
Yep.
But I think we still have this big question about whether it's viable and scalable and whether people can make money doing it.
And doing it means driving autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, well, having autonomous vehicles, level 4 autonomy.
Yep.
For mobility services, whether it's a viable business model.
And before we go into the business model, can you maybe just say like how many autonomous cars are you actually running now in all San Francisco or in Japan? Like what are you actually doing?
Yeah, okay, so
a lot of people I think don't know how big it is because you see it on television and you think the whole of San Francisco is driving with robotaxis already.
Yeah, so in the United States, Nissan is not doing any public service trials.
Yes.
We could talk about why, but we're doing it in Japan and we're doing it in China.
Yep.
And in China, we're doing it with a partner.
Yep.
Right, that provides the technology.
With how many vehicles around?
It's in the tens of vehicles.
So it's not even in the 400.
No,
it's just 20, 30, 10.
Yeah, and it's in Shenzhen and it's in Shanghai and it's with WeRide, right? And in Japan it is just Nissan itself, and that is also right now we have 5 vehicles in Yokohama.
Yep.
And we have 1 or 2 vehicles in Kobe that we're testing, and that is so Nissan has created a separate company called MoPlus.
Yes.
With Mitsubishi, and that is a mobility services company. And we are testing a mobility service, a level 4 mobility service. And this has been with around 400 public people that have been able to sign up. It's for 3 months, it's free, but it's really for Nissan to learn what
learn.
And it's funded partially by the government.
And can you just give a heads up, because you know from your 25 years of experience in this field, like how many of the Waymos are carrying in San Francisco? If you look at a couple of big cities, what are the volumes of the amount? Like, because still people haven't got a clue what's going on.
Well, to be quite honest,
Because it's that big hype that everybody is talking at
Right.
Intertraffic in Amsterdam at this moment about autonomous. And just to give you an idea, there are a lot of people at this moment. Actually, we're doing a big conference in Mumbai with 21 million people living there. So and there are Navi Mumbai, they're making 2 million extra dwellings there. So, and they're thinking of robot pods, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but robot pods with one person in it, and like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, and you're laughing too, but I'm like, come on, guys, this like,
yeah. So, you know, I am more. So I don't keep track of Waymo's expansion and you know, Zoox's expansion
Yes.
models, because you know, it's more like somebody like yourself who would keep the numbers. For us, we're just looking at the technology and what is it that they're doing and how they're doing it. Okay, but I live in San Francisco, and I could tell you that over the last 2 years, the number of Waymos in San Francisco has grown tremendously. If you're in San Francisco on a on a Sunday, you know, but Saturday and Sunday,
yep.
most of the vehicles on the road are Waymos, right? So it is hundreds of Waymos are driving around every
And then
day.
the question pops up, and it's also connected to what you maybe are doing. Like, what is it actually solving? Is it getting more rides on the streets of San Francisco, or what is the autonomous robotaxi solving in the
grand scheme of things?
Yeah, maybe, but and that's actually, and then with all your knowledge, like, what are you working on to
So-
bring a solution to, for what kind of problem?
Yeah, so to me, you know, I'm going back to. So first of all, I always talk from my own experience.
Yes.
And from my own opinion, right? I am at the moment of the opinion that it's just a taxi.
Yeah, nothing more or
It's
less than
just
that.
a taxi.
Yeah, with one person in it or two.
Without a driver, from the experience, it is much nicer than having a driver in the vehicle.
Yeah. And the
Right.
cost is
So-
down because you don't have to
No,
pay
it's twice as expensive as an Uber
at this moment.
at this moment.
And why is it so much nicer?
I think there's two reasons, from my opinion.
Yeah.
One is I don't have a crazy driver in the car. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
So it's a much safer and more relaxed experience driving. Secondly, it's private. I can play my music.
Yeah, you're on
I
your
can
own.
have my phone call,
Yep.
and that can
You
be
can
a
do it, yeah,
phone
yeah, yeah.
call about my
I
private.
won't say other things, but I understand. You're private. It's private.
So from a user experience, it is.
you can have bad music on.
If you like, well, I want to listen to Metallica in the car, you know, you can. If you want to listen to
To Bach
Chopin,
or Chopin.
you can. And if I want to have a fight with my
Whatever.
girlfriend, wife, or
Children.
daughter,
Okay, let's
I
go
can.
back to where,
But this is the bottom line,
Yep.
right? And me as a person living in San Francisco, who can afford it,
Yep.
I now take a Waymo. I do not take an Uber.
Yep. And going back to what you guys are doing in Japan, what kind of problem are you trying to solve with these
Yes.
automatic things you're running now in that city?
So that, from Nissan's point of view about mobility service, right now it's about societal problems, to solve the problems in Japan for the society in terms of mobility.
And what are we talking about then? Elderly people like my mother, who is 76, who can't get around, and there's
It
no
is-
bus anymore. Like what?
Yes, I mean it is.
Needs
I would
to go
say,
to the grocery or
yeah,
to-
I think it's about daily life and supporting. In Japan, the population of taxi drivers is I think the average age is like 57 at the moment, if it's not
Yep.
higher. And the younger generation is not replacing the taxi drivers. So there is a worry
Yep.
that over the next 10 years, the number of taxis will go down,
Yep.
right? And then you have these rural areas where there are no public buses, or the bus system is very limited,
Yep.
and the population is getting older.
Yep.
And so providing this kind of mobility service, and we started with Nissan with just a human driver in the service,
Yep.
but this small mobility service in a smaller bus or with a small van,
Yep.
and being part of the public transportation environment
Yep.
is what is Nissan's mobility service concept, which that means that it is supported by the government, it's
Yep.
part of the city government and
Kind
the
of
prefecture.
part of the public transport system.
Yes, and then the question is, which at this moment we haven't figured out yet, but I think is a very next step that we should do, is how do you integrate the two? The trains,
Yeah.
these buses with the public.
with the automatic
Yes.
vehicles, and I totally.
Yeah. So that is the reason I think for Nissan to
do
be in Japan. Now in different markets, and that's why at the moment we're not in the United States, because in the United States it is not about that.
Because in the United States, it is about just a robot taxi being a
The
taxi.
United States is what it's always been about in the United States.
Money. Exactly. Okay, but then to
Yes.
zoom out, now it will be difficult because I'm going to ask 3 questions in a row, and here I'm lacking knowledge and you have to guide me through. You said something on that. There are 2 things. You said on automatic systems, vehicles, you need to have humans, and humans need to do something to the system. The other question I'm bumping into, saying there are systems that are just running just as in San Francisco, but in Japan, but also in China, there are much more that there is an operator, government or not, taking care of the system itself, what it has to do. So I'm like in between. I'm actually more on the second question, but maybe we have to start with the first. Or you say, no, totally the wrong question. You should ask, we should talk about, I'm like, who, if all these automatic vehicles are there, are they part of the public transport? But
Yeah.
where's the human then
Yeah, so-
to say if a fire department has to go through and everything is stuck and there's a company just running as a taxi, who is taking care of running
Yeah.
the fleet?
So
What should be the question here?
Okay, so
Otherwise we're going all over the place.
yeah, at Nissan we have divvied up the space of mobility service
Yep.
into 3 pillars.
Yes.
I don't know if this is already in Europe seen the same way,
No.
but for us there's 3 pillars. Pillar number 1, building the vehicle and the technology to have the vehicle drive autonomously.
Yes.
So that's a company or
Somebody
an
has to do
OEM,
it. Yep.
right? That does that. That vehicle needs to have redundant steering, redundant braking,
Yep.
redundant computers, redundant sensors.
Yep. With
It needs
all
to
the
be
challenges
safe.
that are
All
there.
the challenges
Many,
that you're.
many.
Pillar number 2 is the fleet operator. It cleans the car, it charges the car, it makes sure the car is ready. If you want 20 cars on a Monday, there are 20 cars in the cars, and if the system is broken, we fix it. That's pillar 2. That could be an OEM, that could be a taxi company, that
Yep.
could be some other company. And then pillar 3 is the service operator. Think of that as the Uber. That has the app, the platform, the customers, and is customer facing. Waymo right now is all 3 pillars. No, it's not all 3 pillars. It's pillar 2 and pillar 2 and pillar 3.
Yes.
But pillar 1, it needs to get its vehicles from some other
Yep.
company, an OEM. So this is how the market will be.
Yeah, and it's really funny to
divvied
do it
up.
with the 3 fingers, because I'm coming up with the 4th finger, and that's all the city and the commons as like normally
Yeah, so-
with public transport there is a PTA. There
No,
is a
so I think the city could be pillar 2, but
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they just like the bus service now.
Yeah.
They have another operator that operates for them, and they have a 10-year contract with
And they're
them.
running these robots.
And they are the ones providing the public transport, the buses, the
Yep,
drivers.
yeah. And then
in this case, they won't have the drivers. And then, the city of Amsterdam, right?
Yep.
Will have the app that you will use to call,
Yep.
their buses operated by their operators.
Yes.
And they will have a bus company that provides them the bus. So in that
And the
sense,
bus can be a big bus to a robot taxi
yes.
small.
So that is the model that I
Yep.
think will be. And then the question is, how do you make money doing that? And one of the big things for me is that we've all seen that the public transportation services are suffering to make money.
A lot. Being subsidized, or it is Paris, or even Istanbul, Mumbai, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
There are, but it's difficult the way you look at it. It's like, but they're heavily subsidized.
So this is the problem I see about how to make a system like this really profitable. In the United States, if you cannot make money,
Yep.
you do not have a company.
You have out. Yep.
And so
do you
this is
see-
where Waymo is the only one who could do it, because they are funded right now by Alphabet.
Yep.
Tens of billions of dollars investment. How long is it going to take them to recoup that? And the only way is to scale this all over the world. And therefore, if they scale it to make the car cheaper and the service cheaper, less people, they already having their teleoperators, not in the United States, but outside.
Yep.
Right? And it is a very, very difficult problem. And it's only through scaling that you can see the prices drop. And then the question is,
my head goes off because we're organizing this big conference with cities in India at this moment, with Delhi, Mumbai. Now you know the volumes. With Kolkata, Pune, it's just all over 20 million. And we're just like, I'm just seeing these plans from sustainable urban mobility plans coming up, and they're seeing robot taxis and pods as is a future thing which is solving this whole Navi Mumbai thing. And I'm just looking at it, I'm like, I'm still
So
between
this
you
is-
and me, I'm like, yeah, of
how
course.
is this going to work?
Yeah, I'm like the
So
volume
I
and
have
the
the same-
density is like,
So I'm I don't want to claim something I'm not, but I do think I was one of the pivotal people to bring teleoperation to the autonomous vehicle world.
yep,
Right? We started in 2013
Yep.
about talking about that, and we were the first ones. We solved, we created technology with NASA, and I got that from the NASA because I was at NASA. That's
Yep.
how we run the rovers on Mars. Okay, that model from NASA is still the problem. There were 150 people at JPL controlling one robot. That's 150 to 1. We have to go to the opposite, 150
50
robots
yeah.
with one human,
yep,
and it's not going to be possible, right? And so this is where the scaling problem is that now Waymo is not publishing how many teleoperators they have to one vehicle, or how many vehicles to one teleoperator, but they have scaled this down tremendously by all the thoughts that you can come up with. Like,
Yep.
they're not sitting in the United States. They're sitting in countries where the labor cost is very cheap, right? And then you get, of course, the communication issues and the time delays, and
Yep.
and then you have to deal with that. And so now technology, AI needs to be developed in order to support the human operators.
yep,
Well, that AI is just as complicated as the AI on the vehicle, and then your question is like, why do we do this, right? Can we just have the vehicle be smarter? And so this is still the question, is how can we, as a society, make this affordable? And I don't have an answer for you, because I know once Waymo has it affordable, now we have just Waymo. We cannot create a society, Mumbai cannot just have one company
yeah,
solving this problem for them. There needs to be a government oversight. Just going level 4 and being safe,
You need to have.
you need to have government oversight. We do this with air traffic.
Yeah.
We do this with medical
Yeah.
doctors,
We do it
FDA
with
approval.
trains.
We do it.
There
right?
is somebody in control. There is a control room.
And there is a validation system in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
You can't just say, oh, my level 4 vehicle is safe.
Yeah.
Just believe me. I have driven.
Have you got examples already from China how they do it? But
No.
or you don't know?
No,
I
I
saw
don't know.
some things on the internet that were there in Wuhan and other places. They were also testing it more in closed circuits. Transdev is also doing things in Paris, but you have not got other examples than Waymo and what you've got on
Yeah,
your
and
seat.
Zoox. We know about Zoox, and San Francisco is now starting to drive, in their little vehicle without a steering wheel, but no, I mean we know, of course, being in the United States and China, it's very difficult to
Compare
to get,
totally. I understand.
and I think the one thing, and I'm not knowledgeable enough to say that, but the government has more oversight to what's happening. But there is the Chinese government, and then there are these local governments, and so so I think even there it is not controlled in a way. It's maybe more controlled than in the United States, but how much control from the government there is there in terms of validating and safety, I don't know. I also don't have numbers of what the accident rate is in China and what.
And how do you see like the ridership so far, or in Japan, like combining it towards active mobility as walking, like 60% of in Mumbai is walking?
I don't know. In China, I don't know. In the United States.
No, but if you compare it towards, let's look at the vehicle that you're actually testing. And then a lot of people from the cycling or from walking are saying, yeah, but these vehicles and it's unsafe. And how do you look at the status of the technology of the robotaxis in traffic in Japan, what you're doing with 10 vehicles? How are they going?
So,
Let's go a little bit into there.
yeah, I mean, the vehicles are driving very well.
Better than humans. Can you say that? Question mark? Sorry, it was a question actually. It was a
Better than
I
humans.
smashed it at you as a opinion.
Well, I wouldn't claim that the Nissan vehicles are better than humans. Yes, in the limited domain where we're driving, yes, but as a
Total, not yet at all.
yes. Now, in case of Waymo, they start to have numbers where they can show that, as fact that they are better than humans.
Only problem there is who is fact checking that from an independent point of view.
You have to trust them on their data. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but okay, what you're starting to see in the United States is that, and now I'm not talking about level 4 vehicles, but more ADAS, is that insurance companies.
Just explain it to people who don't. I know what you mean, but level 4
Okay.
is and what's ADAS?
Okay,
Just in two sentences.
yeah, so level 4 is driverless.
Yes.
No human driver.
Yep.
ADAS is the human is in the loop. At Nissan we say it is hands off, but eyes on.
Yep. Go on.
Okay.
Yep. For people who are jogging now, and
Yeah, great. So, but what you see in the United States now is that insurance companies are starting to give reduction in your insurance cost if you have an ADAS system in your vehicle and you're turning it on while you're driving.
Yep.
That tells you that they have done the numbers.
Yep.
And they see it as a favorable
Yep.
capability to do that. So, but that is with level 2 or ADAS systems, but that because you're seeing that, it does mean that these kind of safety systems are better, make humans better drivers.
Yep.
If you then extrapolate that to level 4 systems,
Yep.
you could say like, yeah, I could see this is true. The question I think is still how are we going to validate those level 4 systems, right?
I'm thinking, I totally understand. I'm getting up to road authorities, and I call it the RDW, but
Yeah.
for people in Mumbai, like it's the TÜV from Germany, it's the VOSA in England. The people who say what can and cannot be allowed on the road.
But it's not just the RDW, right? Because I don't know the Mumbai, but
Mumbai either. Like WhatsApp.
I don't even know it in the Holland that well. But the way we validate human drivers is, first of all, we say you have to be in Holland, I think, 18 years or older.
Yep. Driving license.
And then you have to go through a driving testing.
Yep.
I don't know how many months you need to, how many
My
lessons.
daughter just got it.
Right, and then we do a particular test with a human in the car, and that human then grades you and says, yes,
Yep. Tick the box.
you are good, no, you are not good, and you got to do it again.
Yep.
We do not have a system like that for level 4 autonomy.
I'm just sorry, listeners, we are still there, but I'm like open speechless. There's not a checklist system where,
There is
I
no
used to
authority.
Everybody's going to laugh now, but I used to have a company with like rickshaws, tuk-tuks, and we need to do crash tests. We needed to test everything on the vehicle, how it behaves with all. But now this extra thing comes along. I would introduce a tuk-tuk or a rickshaw which drives on itself, and there is no checklist on how it is doing that with which algorithm. There is no checking list.
No. And there's no authority that tells Waymo, yes, you are 18 years, your driver is 18 years or older and can drive, and we trust
And even
you.
for the 75 years old, like who are,
It
like my
doesn't
mother
exist.
should not be on the road anymore.
And, it doesn't exist. Waymo says,
It's okay.
trust me.
Yep. Yeah.
And then in the United States, the DMV, asks maybe a couple of questions. How many miles have you tested? And blah, blah, and then they say, yes, you are allowed to
Go on the street.
go on the street. Yeah. And so
If you compare that towards you actually, sorry that I'm pointing it, but it's like you said it that you were so interested about the taxis in London, and if you know how much they have to do to work in that field, to know the streets, etc., etc., it's like the same kind of questions, like also ticking up hundreds of boxes.
I had this London cabbie for a while that we were communicating with and using in his knowledge, and he would explain to us what he had to do to become a London cabbie.
Yeah,
That
which
was
is an institute.
years
Yeah.
of expertise.
And sometimes they are still better than Google. They still know the reroutes.
So they
and
know
they're
all.
better.
Yes, but not only that. These people are expert drivers. They know, they can predict what happens in the London traffic like nobody else. And we do not have a similar kind of training, testing, certification kind of system for autonomous vehicles. And so now a company like Waymo is by themselves. I mean, it's very impressive. They do this themselves because they know that if they make a mistake, it's over. This happened to Uber.
Yep.
Right? So the first player in this area is building the safety capabilities and system and testing, but they're pioneers, and it costs billions of dollars and thousands of people. And so it's not scalable to become, it's going to take years for it to become a scalable business that makes money. At some point, if we want others to join that game, we have to change that model, because otherwise only the richest companies in the world can do this. And then the question is, if you don't make money, no richest company in the world is willing to go into this game, because if you don't make money, there's not going to be a business. So we have to figure this out, and that's what is actually, I think, withholding us to go to the next step.
And in knowledge level, like you're doing a lot of research, is there behind the scenes from very good universities around the world in the testing area, living labs? Do you see already they're taking those steps to get these measurements there? No. not at this moment what yours. You cannot have an overview of everything, but you know far more than the rest.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there are research groups like at Carnegie Mellon University, there was a research group. There is at Georgia Tech, there is a professor who is safety is their research. Most of that comes out of the airline industry and the space industry and the nuclear industry.
Yep.
Right, and they're applying the same kind of principles now to autonomous vehicles from a academic point of view. But that then has to be translated to governments and agencies, and it's done at the moment. And then standards has to be done, and the standard in the United States and China and Europe are completely different, and, let alone India.
Are you going back then actually to the idea first mentioned in 2008 about your old city Rotterdam, but let's say that you need to have those tracks, and saying that's where do you think these autonomous things can be added quicker with the levels of safety you need to apply, and where you do think it can happen earlier?
So I think because in 4 years you're going to come back to me and say you said it.
No. You can also ask me the question. That's really funny to talk to each other with. You can also ask it to me.
I've been thinking now that statement. If I made that statement, I believe you. I mean, if you checked it, like in San Francisco, I still think that trams are kind of a silly public transportation system. The reason why there are tracks is that it is very controlled where they can go, and The one thing that I think, it is crazy that there is still a driver in a tram. I mean, I don't see the reason why we would have. Well, we still need a driver.
You can ask it to me, but I'm nodding like I'm the same.
In subway or in the, so if there have to be tracks on the road, let's take the driver out. We've already taken the conductors out. We have, we check in and check out with our own, and so I still feel that why am I going into a Waymo and I would not go into a small, let's use a WeRide van or bus if I need to share it with other people. And this is safety. This is a safety issue. I am still, I'm using the similarity with an elevator.
You used exactly the same metaphor in 2018. Which is nice, with your consistency.
Very uncomfortable.
And you don't want to be close to people, and you want to have your own coach.
Yes. Now elevators, if you go to the 24th floor and there's a fast elevator, it's the
same as being in a train in Mumbai, totally overcrowded.
The safety issue is still, to me, so the trust is not about the trust of the autonomous vehicle. It's about trusting your fellow passengers not to be, and even in a subway, it's already, nowadays, it can be very dangerous to be in a subway.
Yeah.
And if you have, so that to me is still the question, whether for public transportation, whether not having human policing. So now we're going to have the conductors back in the trams for safety reasons.
Yes.
And so that I think is still something we haven't grappled with in terms of public transportation.
Funny thing is, because I've just written a whole book about, like, if you would ask me the same question, I would be the same, really critical about the tram, because I think it's technology-wise, it's a really old-fashioned system.
Yes.
So I can think of minibuses going like spreading, being on demand, being, if the volume goes up, it works more as a line, and as soon as the demand goes down, it can be much more door to door.
Yes.
It's a really simple system. It's efficient. You get the driver out, 50% of the costs are out.
So
what I really liked from your last thing is like, but then if you would imagine that there was no track on the tram line, you say that is autonomous. But as soon as you go into autonomous with only one person in it, I'm like, yeah, okay, stop the business case because the volume is too high
Yes.
in dense city. So
Yes.
yeah, but then you think of small pots being in a train, and then you said, yeah, it can be like a coach in 1900s in London, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but volume. Come on, Maarten, you work for NASA, you work the
Yeah.
volume. What do we do with the volume?
Yeah. So
I'm stuck in here myself, and that's where I'm looking at like Domus systems in Istanbul. They're very flexible, small. They still have got a driver on, but then I've got a feeling like, why should there be a driver on as soon as you got humans also taking care of that system? You tick the boxes on the safety things, like that's been done, and it's been operating for the city as a whole. Then I think of, okay, then it can be done, because you're looking at how many people you want to carry, instead of a stupid system as having New York, I don't know how many yellow cabs are there, but they're only, that's not optimizing space.
No, I know. Yeah.
It's just,
So I think
with the same with the rickshaws in Mumbai.
Yeah. So to me, the autonomy software and the system is only a little piece of the solution. It is all the other parts that we need to figure out to make that efficient, working, trustworthy. It's not the technology that's the problem. It's all the other stuff around it. And it's just that if we get this autonomy working and trustworthy and safe, now we can apply it to all these concepts that you have.
Yeah,
and it
cool.
becomes either easier to apply that, but then still, who pays for it?
Yep. All these normal questions comes along. I totally
Yes.
understand.
And so I would say that over the next 5-10 years, we might get to the systems the autonomy systems that are safe enough, we trust enough that we can start solving it in the way that you're thinking of.
It's interesting because now we're stopping this because I'm actually getting to the points where I really liked, because I was reading a couple of things from you the last 3-4 years that you were like, also, I don't know if you still do it, the startup where you say AI needs to, and all these things needs to benefit for health, and it needs to, yes. Can you just reflect?
Well,
because it's coming through actually now
it's
already.
It's funny you say that. My CEO of my company is in Las Vegas right now at the HIMSS conference, which is the largest healthcare conference in the United States, talking about this topic of how do we apply autonomy and autonomous agents to deal with the healthcare problems, that there are not enough doctors to serve the large amount of unhealthy people, and how can we make AI become like the first stop. And the issue there is exactly the same. We have in the United States, it's the FDA approval system where where first you have to prove that you're safe as a medical equipment in order to be used in a clinical setting.
Yep.
Diagnosis can only be done by a human doctor who has, education and has proven and has been working.
Same with the driving license, or you doing the same things.
And so until we have figured this out for the AI, this is the same problem there, is that we cannot allow the AI to make diagnosis without a human in the loop or a human on the loop. And how do we
But it's a different story that we hear on the news every day. I get bombarded with these AI things that are going to solve. I hear a total different way of thinking here, to be quite honest. It isn't
maybe more pragmatic.
Yeah, it's just pragmatic.
Well, so I've been
maybe from your Rotterdam background again.
from my being Dutch. No, but I've studied multi-agent systems as an academic for 30 years. At NASA, we already, we were pushing in the early 2000s already the limit on how do we work with AI and humans on Mars. Now, the problem was there simpler because we have it was an efficiency question. We have only 3, 4, 6 astronauts on Mars or on the moon. If we want to do a survey of the moon, we need to have robots to support these 4 people on the surface. And how do we make them work together? And already, in that research we figured out is like it's about a multi-agent system that works as a team, and it is humans and robots and AI working together. And how do you control the humans and the AI as an organization? And human organizations has figured this out in terms of, companies with rules, governments with laws, and humans have to obey by the laws. But we know that, in human systems, in human agency, laws are only there to be broken. Because if we can't break laws, then we don't need the laws. Because if we can't break them, we don't need them. Yeah. But if you need them only at the places where you can break them. And by the way, humans break them all the time, right? But with autonomy, with autonomous agents, with AI agents, we don't want them to break our laws. Because we don't trust the way we're afraid of them. We are not humans, and we haven't tested them, and they don't have the education we have, and they don't act and react the same way we have. We as human agents. So we need to build systems that allow us to interact and collaborate and cooperate and coordinate with human agents and AI agents. And we need to figure out how to do that.
Thanks a lot for your time, and for all the people in Mumbai and Delhi. You've demystified a lot now with what's going on with autonomous, and that they still need to rely on some of the old systems as well. It's just not suddenly out of nothing autonomous are going to do Navi Mumbai.
No, because humans will feel very unhappy if they can't break your laws.
Thanks a lot. See you in 8 years' time again. And I hope that my English was not too bad. I tried. It's like a little bit like Louis van Gaal, our famous football trainer.
You're much better than Louis van Gaal.
But still, I have to go to the nuns near Vught, where you can actually do English again. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure to meet you again.
Great. Thank you so much. See you in 8 years. 4 years.